Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really deeply personal and transformative journey. It's about faith, spirituality, drawn from Vanina Vergara's work, The Faith That Saved Me, a rebellious spirituality. Specifically, we're using excerpts from an episode called Spirituality Unbound, S01E05. Now, just to set the stage, this is a reflective piece. It can feel quite somber at times. There's a lot of weight, a lot of vulnerability here. But stick with it, because it ultimately reveals, I think, an incredible power in finding your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes Vanina's story so compelling is how directly she grapples with these huge questions, doesn't she? You know, the nature of belief itself, dealing with profound pain, and that really difficult but vital journey towards personal liberation.
Liberation, that's a key word here.
It is. We're going to see this powerful shift, this move away from a faith that was, well, deeply ingrained and based on fear, towards something fiercely personal, something completely free. And exploring this, I think, offers some really valuable insights for anyone trying to find solace, find strength, especially when things feel broken.
And often that path, that liberation, it starts by challenging what you've always known, right?
Yeah.
So let's begin right there at the source. Let's ground ourselves in Vanina Vergara's early experiences. She paints this really vivid picture of her upbringing, and honestly, it sounds heavy. She shares, and this is a direct quote, "I was raised in a Catholic school amidst holy cards, litanies, long prayers, and a guilt heavier than any cross."
Wow. Heavier than any cross is powerful imagery.
It really is. And she goes on, describing the kind of religious teaching she received. It sounds quite rigid, pretty unforgiving, actually. She says, "I was taught that God was a stern-faced judge, watching from above, whether one behaved well or ill, rewarding submission and punishing rebellion." What really struck me was the internal conflict she felt, even back then. On one side, she says she longed to believe, find some peace in that structure. But then she adds, "I also long to live."
Ah, that tension.
Exactly, that pull between duty and desire, between submission and just that basic human need for freedom. It's palpable right from the start.
And that kind of foundation, it's something so many people can probably relate to, in different ways, of course, the sort of punitive, guilt-heavy instruction. It can have such a deep impact on your spiritual life. It often ends up creating a spirituality rooted in fear, maybe obligation, duty.
Right, not love or real connection.
Exactly. Not genuine connection or inner peace. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it? How early teachings, whether they're religious or even secular, how they can shape our fundamental views on belief, sometimes for decades. And often we don't fully realize their influence until much, much later. For you listening, it might be worth just taking a moment to reflect maybe on how your own early experiences might have shaped your spiritual landscape.
It definitely makes you consider those invisible threads from our past still pulling at us. To really understand the depth of this journey, though, I think we need to hear Vanina introduce herself, ground the story in her own identity. She says quite simply, "I am Vanina Vergara CV Vergara, to the English-speaking world, born in Asunción Paraguay. I have 3 children whom I love deeply, and this is my life."
It's so direct, unadorned.
Yeah. It sets the stage for the honesty that comes next.
Yeah.
And her path forward from that point, it reveals this huge turning point, a shift brought on by really immense personal challenges. She talks about the pain of her past, saying, "For years, my spirituality was more fear than love, more duty than solace."
Faith as a burden, not a comfort.
Exactly. It's so poignant. You really feel the struggle she endured. But then in her absolute darkest moments, something started to shift. She explains, "Yet in my darkest moments, when I felt alone, broken, and rejected by those I loved most, it was faith that held me." But, and this is crucial, she emphasizes this wasn't the old faith, not the one filled with guilt and judgment. No, she calls it a new faith, the kind one discovers when nothing else remains.
When nothing else remains. That points to a real spiritual rebirth, doesn't it? Out of the ashes of despair, essentially. And it brings up that question, what is it about hitting rock bottom? What's the transformative power there?
Yep.
It seems it's often in those moments, extreme vulnerability, total despair, when everything external has just been stripped away.
Yeah.
That's when people are almost forced, compelled to seek a totally different kind of spiritual understanding. Like Vanina describes, in the deepest silences, when injustice seemed eternal, when the diagnosis of psychosocial disability weighed upon me like a brand. And that term, psychosocial disability, it refers to challenges someone might face with mental health, social functioning, interaction. These are the crucibles.
Yeah.
These intense hardships, they break down the old self, the old faith, and they make space for something new, something authentic to come through. It's a stark reminder, I think, that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the deepest pain.
And what she found in that space was, well, it was fundamentally different. She talks about encountering a different God, a new kind of divine presence. And she puts her experience so beautifully, she says, one who did not demand obedience, but simply breath.
Just breath.
Yeah. One who did not punish me for being strong or for saying I can bear no more. One who whispered, I made you thus courageous. Do not kneel before pain, only look to me and go on.
That is such a radical shift from the stern judge she described earlier.
Completely different.
It really shows this profound liberation, a clear contrast to that distant judgmental figure. What we have here is a divine presence that offers validation, offers strength. It simply permits existence rather than demanding submission or threatening punishment. It suggests that a truly empowering spirituality, it acknowledges our struggles, maybe even celebrates our resilience. Offers a hand up, not a punitive gaze down. This whole redefinition, moving from demanding obedience to just offering breath and encouragement, it speaks so deeply to that universal need we all have for unconditional acceptance, for inner strength.
And that journey, born from so much challenge, so much transformation, it led her to embrace what she actually calls a rebellious and free spirituality. Yeah. She's clear about its unbound nature. She says that spirituality has no fixed church, no label.
No label. That's significant.
Very. It's not about sticking to some external structure. It's about an internal, living, breathing experience. And the examples she gives are so vivid, so specific, they really show how diverse it can be. It's not about grand gestures. It's these simple, profound moments. In everyday life, in grief, in nature, in connection with others, she says, at times it is a prayer as I walk, at others a quiet conversation with my late mother, feeling her near, giving me strength. It is gazing at a tree and knowing all shall be well.
That connection to nature.
Yes. It is lighting a candle and weeping without fear. It is embracing Pablo, my companion, and realizing that too is faith. To believe in love after the inferno.
Wow. Believing in love after the inferno. These examples, they completely redefine what faith can even mean, don't they? It shifts from rigid doctrine and outside authority to this living, breathing connection. Connection to self, to others, to the world around us. And there's just immense courage in embracing something so fluid, so personal, especially coming from that strict, dogmatic background she described. It's really a testament to the idea that true spirituality maybe can be found anywhere, not just inside certain walls. It kind of asks you, the listener, to think, how many of us feel maybe a bit constrained by traditional definitions? And what could we gain by exploring our own, perhaps unlabeled ways of connecting?
And this brings us right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The core of this deep dive, the profound impact of her journey, what she ultimately learned, and the powerful freedom she discovered. This is Vanina Vergara's statement, and it really feels like a defining moment in her whole story. Let's listen closely. I am no mystic, no guru. I am a woman who has learned to pray with a weary body and an open soul. My spirituality is rebellious, for it no longer bows to the dogmas that once imprisoned me. My faith is free, and thus it is strong. I have learned that God, or whatever name you choose, does not desire martyrs, but living beings. Not submissives, but awakened women. Not perfect children, but true bonds. And though many wounds still ache, I rise each day with one certainty. I am not alone. I never was.
That is incredibly powerful, especially that line, God, or whatever name you choose, does not desire martyrs, but living beings. Not submissives, but awakened women. Not perfect children, but true bonds. That just completely flips so many traditional religious expectations upside down. It prioritizes authenticity, vitality, real human connection, over sacrifice, or some kind of flawless obedience. It feels like a call to embrace our full imperfect selves, to really engage with life, not retreat from it in fear or obligation.
Yeah, not retreat.
It fundamentally reframes the whole purpose of faith. It's not about serving some external entity, maybe, but about nurturing our authentic inner self and fostering genuine connection. And the strength in her declaration, my spirituality is rebellious, for it no longer bows to the dogmas that once imprisoned me, and my faith is free, and thus it is strong. That really hits home. It emphasizes the profound strength that comes from choosing your own path. And this freedom, it's clearly not an easy gift. It's born from struggle, from confronting those deep beliefs, those painful experiences. But that very act of liberation, of shedding what doesn't serve you anymore, that's what forges this unshakable strength. It's a strength from within, from being true to yourself. And it's all the more powerful because it was so hard-won.
What's so moving, too, is how she holds that strength and freedom alongside the pain that still lingers.
Yeah.
She says, and though many wounds still ache, I rise each day with one certainty, I am not alone. I never was.
That balance.
Right. It's such a poignant testament that this deep connection, this self-acceptance, it can hold strong even with the echoes of past suffering. It doesn't magically erase the past, obviously, but it provides this profound sense of belonging that pushes back against isolation. And for you listening, it really highlights that universal human need, doesn't it? The need for connection, to feel seen, understood, to know that you aren't, maybe never were, truly alone in whatever struggles you face.
It's a powerful message of resilience, and enduring connection, even while you're still healing.
So as we bring this deep dive toward its close, we've really traced this incredible arc of Vanina Vergara's journey, from a faith that felt heavy, burdened by guilt, judgment, fear, to one that's liberated by her own experience, by facing profound challenges and finding authentic connection. Her story is just such a powerful testament to finding immense strength, finding belonging even in the darkest times, and building a spirituality that truly nourishes her.
Yeah, and Vanina's journey, it really illustrates that for many people, maybe most people, the path to a truly meaningful, fulfilling spirituality. It's deeply personal, and often, like she says, it's rebellious.
Right.
It demands this honest reckoning with pain, with beliefs we've inherited, and it demands a willingness to forge new definitions, new ideas about faith, about connection, even if that means stepping outside of conventional boundaries. Ultimately, it seems to be about finding your own sacred space, wherever and however that shows up for you, and recognizing that real strength often comes from within.
And maybe for you, as you reflect on all this, here's something to think about further. In your own life, what old dogmas, what inherited beliefs might be holding you back? And what would it actually mean for you to define freedom and connection on your own terms? If Vanina Vergara's story resonated with you and you'd like to reach out, she shares this. I read letters sent to mailto.vergaravanina@yahoo.com. Thank you for joining us on this really profound journey into the faith that saved me. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.